You can help your child avoid the frustration of not getting maths. So they sit in a maths class, they hate maths, and just don't get it. You can save them this pain by encouraging your children or your child to revise Year 7 maths. Hello, welcome to Block 4, Place Value, Ordering Integers and Decimals, Lesson 7. I will share my screen. So in your previous lesson, you learned how to use the relational operators to compare numbers. In today's lesson, you're going to learn to order a list of integers. But before we start, I just want to say something. It is mind-blowing that more than 50% of people who derive value from these videos are not even subscribers yet, and they've not liked the videos. They've not hit the notification bell either. I want to ask you a huge favor. If you're deriving great value from these videos, please click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and like the videos so that you can support the work we do. If you do this, my promise to you is that you will keep receiving high quality videos that educate your child and other children across the world. Before we start, I would like you to pause the video and do these retrieval practice questions for 3 minutes. You can take longer if you wish. Assuming you've paused the video and you've worked through these retrieval practice questions, I'm sure you've also noticed that these questions cover lessons that we did quite a while ago. For example, look at that, linear sequence, all right? Now, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. So here you ask to write the number represented in the place value chart in words. It's 11,050,023. And then here you asked to write an ascending sequence with a first term of 30 and a common difference of 6. Ascending means going from low to high. Okay? And the common difference is the number we'll be adding each time. Question 3, you ask what does 7 represent in the number? 7 represents 70,000. You can also write it in words if you choose to. Let's do some new learning. Well, if you take a look at these numbers, which number is greater? Have a think. I'm sure you had the same answer like I did. You can see that this number has one counter in the 10 million column. So it is clearly greater than this number that only has one counter in the million column. What if we add some more counters? Of course, this number is still greater than this number because this has 9 counters in the million column, but this is still 10 million. Even if we add some more counters, that number is still greater. You can see that number does not have any counter in the 10 million column. Now, We'll not use counters, we'll start using digits, actual numbers in the place value chart. Which number is greater? Have a think. Well, something important you really need to take note of is when you compare numbers using your place value charts and when you're using digits, it is important that you start looking or comparing the numbers from the highest placed from the highest column on in the place value chart. So in this case, when we compare these, we have 4 in each of the numbers in the place value chart. We have 4 in the 10 million column. But when we look at this, we have 1. Are the numbers actually equal? Of course not, because when we look at this column, the 100,000 column, we can see that this is 3. So this number is clearly greater than the other number. What about these ones? If we're asked to write these numbers in the table in descending order, how do we do it? We'll use the same approach. We'll look at the numbers starting from the highest place value column. Remember what the word descending means. If you didn't know it, descending means you start from the biggest number and you start to go to the lowest. So let's start with the highest number. First, we'll look at the highest place value column. When we look at that, we'll see that this number has 4. So it's clearly the greater number, the greatest number among them. So we can cross that out so we do not compare it with the others. So we can save time. Now, when we look at this column, we see that this number has 6 in the 100,000 column. So this number is the next one. We can cross that out. We're now left with these two numbers, this one and this one in these rows. When you compare them, are they equal? Of course not, because when we look at the 1,000, the 10,000 column, we can see that we have 5. So this number is clearly greater than the other one. So we can then put our number in descending order. It's now time for you to have a go at questions 1 to 3. But before you do that, what have we learned so far? You have learned that you can use your place value chart, but this time you have digits instead of counters to order numbers in ascending or descending order. You start by comparing the numbers from the highest place value column, and then you compare the numbers moving from left to right, looking at the place value columns and the digits you have there. Remember, ascending means going from the lowest number to the highest number. And descending means going from the highest number to the lowest number. Pause the video and answer questions 1 and 2 in 4 minutes. You can take a shorter time or a longer time to do them. Assuming you've paused the video and you've worked through these questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. For question 1, you were asked, some numbers are listed in the place value table. Which is the greatest number? Of course, you can use the technique or what we've learned in this lesson to do them. And then how do you know? We do this by looking at the numbers in the greatest place value column. Okay? And then you're told to write the number in descending order. Here are the answers to question 2. Mark your work and celebrate your success. pause the video and answer question 3 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 3, here are the answers. So you were told to compare the place values, the numbers to, you check the place values to compare them. This is, question A, you were told to tick, which chart represents the greatest number. It's this one. So these were the charts you were asked to compare. All right. So it's the first one. Okay. And then you were asked, how can you know this is the greatest number without working out what each number is? Okay. You look at the place value columns, you compare them. All right. Now, let's do some new learning. Mo is comparing two numbers to find out which is greatest. Here is what Mo did. I want you to have a think. What mistake has Mo made? Mo says 8 is greater than 7, so 8,165 is greater than 74,923. Of course, Mo has made the mistake of arranging the numbers in the correct place value columns. That is how it should be written. So 74,923 is actually greater than 8,165. So it's important you know that you arrange your numbers from the right to the left in groups of 3. So digits, 3 digits at a time. Okay, what about this one? If we have 5.3 million, how do we actually write 5.3 million? Well, to do this, we write 5 million and then 6 million. All right? So the next million is 6 million. If we want to write these numbers, we'll see that we have 10 intervals. Now, if we have 10 intervals between 5 million and 6 million, we can use 1 million. Of course, we know the difference between 5 million and 6 million is 1 million. We can then use 1 million and then divide that 1 million by 10 intervals. This gives us that the difference, each interval is worth 100,000. So if each interval is worth 100,000, we can complete our interval, which now looks like this. But what about the 5.3 million? What does it actually mean? Well, again, we have 1 million, but here 0.3 means we're talking about tenths, a tenth, right? So if we have 1 million and we have each interval is actually 0.1, then it means we can fill our place value chart like this. So 5.3 million is the same as 5,300,000. Well, what if I told you what is 5.35 million? How would you read that? That's something for you to think, but it shouldn't be difficult for you to do this by now. So 5.3 million is 5,300,000. Okay, it's time for you to have a go or to practice with the rest of the questions. But before you do that, what have we learned so far? You have learned that you can use your place value chart to help you compare numbers, and it is important that you arrange the place value of the numbers properly starting from the right to the left. Okay. Here are your questions. Answer questions 4 to 6 in 5 minutes. You can take longer to do them, depending on your pace of working. Assuming you've paused the video and you've worked through questions 4 to 6, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. For question 4, you were asked, Whitney is writing some numbers in order, starting with the greatest. She writes these numbers. She says 9 is greater than 1 and 0. So 99,999 must be greater than 100,001. Of course, she's not right. She hasn't considered the place value or the digits. Yeah, the place value of the digits. She has not considered them. So it's really important that you use your place value chart to compare so that you can find out what is the actual place value of the digits of your integers. Here are the answers to questions 5 and 6. So I'm sure football lovers should like this. I like the question. Very, very nice. So which player has the highest transfer fee? It is D. Okay, so comparing their place value, you would see that 81 million is the highest value. And then which player has the lowest? It is B. And then here you were asked to write the missing digits to make the inequality statements correct. Have you noticed that we are calling this another name, these symbols, inequality, these symbols, all right? So take note of the name we have called it, inequality, yeah? So they are inequality symbols. So this word here refers to these symbols. They are inequality symbols. So what we were calling relational operators, okay, relational operators means more than one of these ones. So it includes the equal, the not equal. But when we talk about inequality, we're referring to these. Okay, so it's important you take note of that. All right, so let's move on. Here are questions 7. Pause the video and do question 7 in 3 minutes. It's quite a few of the questions. Should be able to do it in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you have answered question 7, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Question 7, you were asked to answer this question. Is there expected to be more people in Sao Paulo or Shanghai by 2050? So here, the skill you require to use is to read the chart and read the question. So the population of Sao Paulo is expected to increase by 6 million by 2050. And then the population of Shanghai is expected to increase by 3 million by 2050. So the answer should be Sao Paulo, because if you add 6 million to what you already have here, that should be greater than Shanghai. Okay. Here is question 8. Question 8, you're required to put one digit in each box so that the numbers are ordered from smallest to the greatest. Which word do we use for that? Ascending. Don't forget that. So from smallest to greatest is ascending, from top to bottom. Okay, I'm sure you should have thought about that and you should have worked through that really well. So here are the answers. That brings us to the end of our lesson. So, what we've learned so far is we have learned that one, it's important that when you use your place value chart, you should always compare from the highest place value column to see which number is actually the greatest or greater if you're comparing two numbers. It's also important that you consider the place value of each of the digits in your place value chart. Until next time, take care and bye bye.